Namaskar and welcome to StudyIQ. I am your friend Rahul Saigaonkar. Let's continue our discussion of NCERT Science series. We are discussing NCERT Science textbook for class 10 and today would be the last discussion for class 10 Science NCERT because we are dealing with chapter 16 Management of Natural Resources. In this NCERT, we have discussed different themes from chapter 1 to chapter 5. We have discussed chemistry based topics. From chapter 6 to chapter 9, we have discussed biology based topics. From 10 to 13, we have discussed physics based topics like electricity, magnetic effects of electric current, etc. And in our recent discussions, we have focused on environment based topics like energy, like environment. And today we'll talk about management of natural resources. And in this particular chapter, we are going to understand what is the meaning of natural resources, what are the different types of natural resources, and how do we have to manage them. We'll understand one term called as sustainability or sustainable management of natural resources. We'll also discuss some of the templates or some of the natural resources. We'll discuss about forests, we'll discuss about water and some, I would say, exhaustible natural resources as well. Right, let's begin our interaction of chapter 16. But before that, there is a small notice for all the UPSC civil services aspirants. StudyIQ is offering P2I program, Prelims to Interview Initiative for August month. This would be one of the last programs for UPSC Civil Services 2024. It's available in 3 formats, English, Hindi, and a bilingual format. Whatever suits you, you can go for it. The question is, sir, why should I go for it? Because this is the most comprehensive program available for UPSC Civil Services preparation. We will be hand-holding you through prelims, mains, interview, all the 3 stages. It is at a very affordable price, 29,999. For max discount, do use my code Rahul Live. The classes are starting from August 11, 2023 at 8 a.m. Do it now. There should be no delay because I would say this is the ideal time. Ideal time was perfectly in July, but now also it's not too much delay. But I would say in the next few months, we'll focus on foundation, then prelims, then mains. So to enroll, I'll see you in the class. All right, let's begin our discussion of management of resources or sustainable management of resources. Now, in our previous discussions in class 9, class 8, class 7, we have discussed about natural resources. We have discussed about forest, wildlife, air, water, soil, right? Petroleum, coal. We have discussed all these things. And we need to understand that these natural resources, they just do not belong to us alone. That means not just for this generation. That is why we use the term sustainable management of natural resources, meaning living in harmony with the nature, living in harmony with our environment. And this concept is not new. Although I would say the term is relatively new because we have been using it from 1970s, or to be very precise, from the Rio Summit 1992. Sustainability, sustainable development, sustainable use of resources. All right, we are talking about refuse, reuse, reduce, recycle, all these things. But it has been a very old concept. Living with harmony with the nature, or living in harmony with the nature, it is a concept which is available inherently in Indian psyche, inherently in the Indian way of life. In many of the ancient texts, we find the mention of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. In fact, this Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which means the entire earth is one family, this phrase has been mentioned in the Maha Upanishads, the Maha Upanishad, which is a part of Atharva Veda. All right. So we have this idea from before itself, but in the 21st century, it has gained a lot of traction. Now, the question is, sir, you said sustainable management of natural resources. So I have to manage them. I have to manage natural resources. That you're telling it. I'll try to understand what is that management. But what are these natural resources? We find 2 kinds of natural resources. Exhaustible resources. Exhaustible means which exhaust quickly and which take a very long time for replenishment. Meaning once I finish it off, for getting them back or to get them back, it takes millions of years together. The example is coal, petroleum, or other mineral based resources because it takes time for their formation. For this, I don't need to explain you, right? Why do we have to conserve them, or why do we have to use them judiciously? Because once they are over, then I will not have that. There would be shortage of it. The other kind of natural resource is the inexhaustible natural resource. Inexhaustible means these are renewable, these are replenishable, meaning it does not take very long to replenish. We have so many sources. We have water, we have air, we have sunlight, right? We have so many renewable sources. Now you must be thinking, sir, you told that we need to manage these sustainably, we need to use it judiciously. It makes sense with this, but I don't think it makes sense with this because we have plenty. So use it in a non-judicious way. But we have already understood what is the problem with it. In our previous discussions, we have understood water. Of course, water is available in very large quantities, but how much of that water is potable? How much of that water is usable by humans, by plants, by animals? It's very small amount. A large amount of fresh water is stuck with the glaciers, and we have a very small percentage of Earth's water which is available for our drinking purposes or our purpose, our day-to-day activities. Because if we do not conserve that judiciously, already underground water is going further down because we have overexploited it. We are not conserving water, so the water, the fresh water, is now joining the ocean. So we need to ensure that we need to bring some sort of water harvesting methods. Same concept with air. We have been exploiting the air-based or atmosphere-based resources too much. We have passed so much of carbon dioxide, so much of sulfur dioxide, so much of nitrogen-based oxides into our atmosphere that it is leading to pollution. It is ultimately leading to health problems for humans, for everybody. So you need to understand, yes, I have to use this judiciously, I have to use this also very judiciously. Clear? Right. The next question, sir, okay, why manage it at all? Especially when it comes to inexhaustible source, or I would discuss for both. All right. That's why we use the term sustainable. I'll also try to explain what is the meaning of sustainable here. Okay. Question is, sir, why do I have to manage them? Why do I have to manage them? I would say it has to be understood from 3 dimensions. Now, we all think that whatever resources we have, we think it is available only for us. That means, see, I am living right now in 2023, but you need to understand that these resources, they do not just belong to 2023. These resources have belonged to our ancestors, they belong to us, they must belong to our future generations as well. Do you understand that right now you, me, everybody is breathing the same air that was probably present billions of years before or millions of years before, whatever term you want to use, and the same air would also be available for the future generation as well. So first thing is we need to maintain that intergenerational parity. That's why we need to use them judiciously. Now it has to be taken from 3 angles. First of all, say even if you are using, you will say that, sir, I am using it, let me use it, fine, right? Let me use it. The future generation will take care of themselves. That violates the principle of intergenerational parity, first of all. But apart from that, if you are also using it, ensure that you are using it in an equitable manner. Meaning the current resources that we use, they are first of all available in a very inequitable manner. Gas resources are very rich, say in Middle East, some other resources somewhere else. So ensure that there is equitable use of these natural resources, meaning people from same generation, at least they should get that equitability, but that does not happen. Meaning, first you need to ensure equitability. Now the second idea is to ensure that the future generation that also has these provisions. All right, we need to ensure the future generation progeny, they also have these resources. And the third aspect, even if you are using it now, ensure that you use in such a way that the environment is not damaged. Environmental care is very, very important. So these are the 3 angles or the 3 concepts which are connected with sustainability. That's why we say, whenever we talk about the concept of sustainability means we have to use these resources in perpetuity, not just for one generation, but we have to provide it for everybody. So right now, this generation, use it equitably, use it with some sort of common sense so that environmental damage does not occur, and ensure that you leave you leave properly for the future generations as well. That is the meaning of sustainable management of natural resources. Clear? And now I don't think I need to explain you why do we need to manage resources. We need to manage them, be it these exhaustible or inexhaustible, ensure that environment's regeneration capacity is always maintained. Clear? Right. Now, I have already made a case that we have natural resources, we have to use them judiciously. So how are we using them? Right now, we have one natural resource, forest and wildlife. And now you think, sir, forest and wildlife, how do we use them? See, we use them for many services. First of all, direct services. We get food, we get timber, we get other services, we get recreation services. Wildlife, yes, wildlife is very important. We talk about the concept of biodiversity. These forests are hotspot of biodiversity. Everybody uses it. There are different stakeholders. People who are living in the forest, industrialists, they want forests. Environmentalists, they want forests. People, they want forests for their recreation. But we are not using them right now in a judicious way. Why? Because there is heavy amount of deforestation as of now. There is a lot of pollution also. We see that forests are being cut for agriculture purpose. Forests are being cut to set up the industries. Forests are being cut for timber. Forest provides us so many services, and all those services would be lost. First of all, forest is a home for people, for tribals. Forest is a home for animals. That habitat would be disrupted. Forest has a large biodiversity, but if I cut it, it's gone. Forest has a lot of natural resources. It has flora and fauna. When I cut it, it's gone. And that's why everybody, if you ask any environmentalist, I would say don't even ask them. It's a concept of common sense. Forests are needed to us. Forests are like the lungs of Mother Earth. And if we do not use them judiciously and in a sustainable way, what will happen? The problems of global warming, the problems of climate change, the problems of natural disasters increasing more and more. So disasters, deforestation, they contribute to the climate change, and the solution to the climate change is also forest only. So use them judiciously, use them in a sustainable manner. Right now, if we see who are the stakeholders involved here, first of all, people who are in the forest, tribals, the government is a stakeholder, the industrialists want it, they want to create or they want to get products from the forest. Wildlife enthusiasts, they want it in a purest form. So everybody is battling, everybody has their own idea, and we need to balance these interests. That's why as a bureaucrat, as a civil services aspirant, you will be entering into administration, and throughout your life you will be facing this constant problem or constant dilemma, I would say, of balancing economic development and environmental protection. So different stakeholders are involved, different stakeholders have to come together to safeguard these forests, to conserve these forests. And if we have to protect them, we need to follow the forest management principles. We need to protect the diversity. We need to ensure that we use it sustainably. We need to ensure that the edaphic factors and the hydro-based factors, they are used sustainably. The forest ecosystem, it ultimately contributes to the ecological cycles. Climate change can be countered by increasing more and more forests. Of course, use the benefits, but use them in a sustainable way. But if we become more greedy, see, the idea of sustainable development was very beautifully explained by Gandhi. He said the world has enough for everybody's needs, but not for greed. And once greed increases, then what happens? Then people will fight for their rights. People will fight for forests. The same thing happened in Uttarakhand. We have seen that the different stakeholders, they try to exploit forest and wildlife, especially industrialists, right? So to fight it, or management of forest, people are one of the most important stakeholders. All right. So people, they come together, or they came together in many of the movements. One of the movement was the Chipko movement in 1970s in Rainy, in the Garhwal region in Himalayas, where one of the contractors came to cut the forest. So people hugged every individual, they hugged one tree, and the contractor had to go back. So this started, or this, I would say, this lit a fire in India of the environmental movements. After that, we have seen so many movements: Apiku movement, Silent Valley movement, Jangal Bachao Andolan. and some other environmental movements as well. So if such movements are not needed, or I would say if people are not involved, then one of the stakeholders would take benefit of it. For example, the industrialists who exploit the forest the most. All right. So this has to be stopped. That's the basic idea. Now the second natural resource is water. Water is for all. You do know that. But despite that, water has to be used in a very efficient and a judicious manner. Why? We have seen it. Although water is available in plenty in our hydrosphere. Yes, when you say biosphere, hydrosphere is a part of it. But most of the water is in oceans, which is not potable. And whatever fresh water sources we have, be it underground water or the surface water, which is rivers, lakes, ponds, etc., they are getting polluted. One of the classic example is the Ganga water pollution. Now, the Ganga water pollution has been a major problem. Ganga runs its course for about 2,500 kilometers, starting from the Gangotri. It moves through multiple states and ultimately drains into the Bay of Bengal. Now, throughout its course, we have seen that especially in Uttar Pradesh, in Bihar and West Bengal, there have been so many towns, cities, so many industries that have come up who release their runoff, who release their wastewaters in Ganga, which has led to pollution of river Ganga. And when we talk about pollution, we can assess any river's health by the presence of bacteria, that is coliform bacteria, which leads to basically food poisoning in you. The coliform bacteria should be in low amount, or we can also assess the pH of the river. And since 1980s, we have understood that Ganga has become very polluted. Why? If you look at these numbers from 2007 to 2011, the CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board data, it clearly suggests that the bacterial coliform, which is one of the measurement for the pollution level of a river, it has been consistently high. It has been consistently high in many parts, especially in the downstream. If you look at Roorkee, Kanpur, Varanasi, etc., right from Uttarakhand to Uttar Pradesh to Bihar to West Bengal, we have seen the bacterial number, or the bad bacteria in the water is in very high quantity. Now, this is the standard which has been set by CPCB. But ideally, what people tell is the water, or I would say the drinking water, it should have less than 10. It's basically said 10 amounts to one colony of coliform bacteria, and it should not have E. coli basically. So coliform bacteria less than 10 is ideal. But the CPCB set level is a little higher than 1,000. But look at the pollution in different stages or in different stretches of river Ganga. We have started so many programs, right? We have started Namami Gange program, the Namami Gange program, Mission Ganga, Mission Clean Ganga. So many missions have come, but we are still struggling to clean Ganga river. Right? That means water has to be used judiciously. Water resources have to be treated. That means industrial effluents that are now released into Ganga, those have to be stopped. The runoff that goes from even household, that has to be treated, and then eventually can be left out in the river, because you do know that every river or Mother Earth has regeneration capacity. But right now what we are doing is we are exploiting that level itself. We are releasing so much of garbage, so much of waste in a river that it cannot regenerate itself in its normal course. Why? Of course, because of population increasing, because of increasing population, because of demands increasing, because of so many industries that are coming up. So that means water, which is a basic necessity for terrestrial form of life, it is now being polluted, be it underground. Look at the problems with underground. We do not have solid waste management system. The waste, it seeps into underground aquifers. We are consuming that only. The waste from septic plant, it leaks. Waste from the runoff, it leaks. Surface water, forget about this. I don't need to explain about this, because you go to any beach, go to any river, go to any lake, you will find so much of plastic, so much of garbage around there. All right. Now you clearly understand that water, it is, yes, inexhaustible resource, but fresh water, I would say, it is always short, and we have to use it in a judicious way. And to ensure that we have proper drinking water facilities, we have water for our educational, agricultural needs, etc., we have brought so many measures. For instance, we have created big dams, right? We have created big dams. Of course, India gets a lot of water as rainfall, which is pure form, yes. But when do we get that? We get it in, say, 3 months, 4 months. Right now, from, say, June to August, June to September, probably we get intense rainfall. Most of that rain, it goes underground, and large amount of that rain eventually reaches to the oceans itself. So we need to conserve that. Now, how do you do it? We do it through dams. We have constructed big dams. There is a dam near my place also, which supplies water to the urban areas. But these dams, on one hand, they have a lot of benefits. Yes, water from these dams can be used for irrigation. Water from these dams can be used for water supply to the urban cities, right? To my city, water comes from a dam itself. Water from dams can be used to generate electricity. Yes, it has a lot of benefits. But creating dams everywhere, is it feasible? Because it leads to many problems. First of all, it leads to societal problems. To create a big dam, I would need thousands of acres of land. That means I would need to resettle many people. If it is a forest area, I have to cut that forest. And I understood forest is a very important natural resource, right? So it has societal impacts, it has environmental impacts, it has even economic impacts. The dams itself, they cost huge amount of money. Multiple thousands of crores are needed to construct a dam. People have to be moved, people have to be resettled, forests have to be cut, biodiversity is lost, forest is lost. So there are disadvantages. So a better solution would be to ensure that we have some sort of traditional means of water harvesting or traditional means of conserving water. One of the examples is the kuls in Himachal Pradesh. Kuls in Himachal Pradesh are a local system of canal irrigation, which have been used for almost 400 years. Apart from these kuls, we have so many others rainwater harvesting methods. If we harvest rainwater, water harvesting methods, if locally or traditionally they are used, it's much better than constructing a dam itself, isn't it? And in many areas we do use it. For example, they're called by different names in different areas. They're called khadins, tanks, nadis, bandaras in Maharashtra. This is a small map which shows you the nomenclature. Sometimes MCQ can be formed regarding these names. Traditional water harvesting system in Kerala is called Surangam. In Tamil Nadu, Eri, Urani. In Karnataka, there are Keres, right? There is a scheme also running in Karnataka, Keres Sanjeevani, to rejuvenate these local tanks, local ponds. In Maharashtra, it's called FUD Bandara. Bandaras are basically water harvesting systems in your agricultural land, right? At the border of your land. Apart from that, you have Vav and Virdas in Gujarat. You have Kul in Himachal Pradesh. I already told you there is Baoli, Johad. Johad is also seen in Rajasthan predominantly. Kunds in Uttar Pradesh, Kata, Bandha, Dabri in other areas. Even in Northeast, you can find Apatani, Zabo, Ruza. These are some of the methods of traditional water harvesting. So we need to promote them more and more. Why? Because this is one of the ideas of sustainable use of these water resources. All right? Right. Now, apart from this, we also have exhaustible resources. Now, we have discussed about this. Coal and petroleum, how they are formed. I told you, coal is formed after millions of years. Initially, there would be forest or plant-based biomass. Once it goes under, once it is compressed for millions of years, ultimately it leads to formation of coal. Similar thing with petroleum. For petroleum, it is basically marine organisms or marine animals. After millions of years, plant and animal remains that are left underwater, they become or they turn into fossil fuels, that is petroleum and natural gas. And we do know that they are available in limited number or limited quantity, meaning we need to use them very judiciously, very in a very, or I have to come up with some measures or means to reduce the usage of these fossil fuels, so that I have it available for the next generations, for the future generations as well. Because to form that coal, it will take millions of years. It will take millions of years in future. So what can we do? We can come up with some methods. For instance, See, coal itself, it leads to a lot of air pollution. So what can I do? I can turn coal into some sort of gas form. First of all, burning coal itself can be avoided, and we can convert that into liquid fuel or say gas fuel, right? The coal gas through gasification methods. When we are extracting coal and petroleum, ensure that the wastage is not there. You do know these are highly inflammable. That means it catches fire very quickly. Ensure that wastage through fire, it does not happen. Ensure that transportation of these fuels is done in a very sound manner. Ensure that you use fossil fuels in a very sound manner. So for example, if your vehicle, ensure that your vehicle has proper tire pressure, it is properly serviced, then it will consume less amount of fuel. I am conserving that fuel only. So avoid wastage, pollution, check over consumption of fuel in automobiles. This is one of the ideas. And apart from these fossil fuels, or I would say exhaustible resources, use inexhaustible resources. Try to promote solar energy, try to promote wind energy, try to promote geothermal energy. So that we use less amount of coal, less amount of petroleum, less amount of natural gas, and it is available for the future generations as well. All right, now that is the idea of sustainable management. Remember, although we have discussed only forests, water, and coal and natural gas, but sustainable management of resources is needed everywhere, with respect to soil, with respect to minerals, with respect to rocks, with respect to food that we eat. Forest and water has already been discussed. Everywhere sustainability has to become the concept. It's the buzzword in 21st century, and that's why it's not just the duty of one individual. Of course, we can play whatever role is there, but all the stakeholders have to come. You, me, the state government, the central government, the international players, the international organizations, they have to come together, and they have come together to give us UNDP, United Nations Development Program. UNDP, United Nations Development Program, and the environment program, they have basically given us many sustainable development goals. UNDP sustainable development goals, like sustainable development goal 3, 6, 7, 9, 12, 13, 15, they all talk about sustainable management of natural resources. All right, good health and well-being, it is one of the sustainable development targets. By 2030, ensure this is achieved. Clean water and sanitation, another sustainable development goal. We have affordable and clean energy. If we go for renewable energy, then the pressure on coal and petroleum would be lower. All right, we want to build industry and infrastructure in such a way that it is sustainable, meaning I reduce my AC requirement. That means I reduce my electricity requirement. Ultimately, from right now, majority of electricity comes from coal based power plants only. So if I reduce my electricity consumption, then coal consumption would be reduced, right? Apart from that, responsible consumption and production, yes. Live climate action, 13 climate action, SDG 14 life below water, SDG 15 life on land. What are all these? All these are development goals which have been finalized by international organizations and the nations involved here to ensure that Mother Earth would be safe, Mother Earth would be pristine, and we fight global warming and climate change. That's the idea of sustainable management. That's the idea of sustainable development globally. All right, and I hope we achieve it. And I told you, it's not just top down, it has to be bottom up as well. Of course, international organizations are involved, but every person has to do their bit. So ensure that when you're shaving, do not put the tap on continuously. When you're leaving your room, switch off all the appliances, switch off your fan, switch off your light. Try to reduce the use of plastics. Do not use the plastics when you're going out. Carry a jute bag for the equipment, carry the jute bag for your stuff. So these are the things that you can do. Try to reduce your fossil fuel consumption. Ensure that your bike has proper tire pressure, it is serviced, right? Try to use public transport wherever it is available. So all these are some of the means of sustainable management itself. Hope we achieve it. All right, with that note, this is the end of discussion, and this is the end of NCERT class 10 science textbook as well. I hope that you have enjoyed this series. Thank you very much for watching this, and if you have liked this, You can always follow me on this particular ID. You can contact me on this ID anytime if you have any queries, not just regarding NCERTs, but regarding exam preparation itself, regarding UPSC Civil Services or your state PSC or any other thing. Just like that, if you want to drop a message, you can drop me a message on IG. I do respond on Saturdays and Sundays. Thank you very much for watching this again. Jai Hind.